This is Inside Indiana Business Radio on demand for Friday, January 16th, 2026. I'm Gary Dick. Indiana lawmakers have taken their first public steps in creating legislation to potentially help lure a Chicago Bears stadium to the Hoosier State. Language amended into a bill Thursday would create a Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority, authorized to acquire land, finance capital improvements, and enter into leases with private entities, including NFL teams. The Bears have expressed an interest in leaving Illinois and have toured several potential stadium sites in Northwest Indiana. Elkhart-based music instrument maker Conn Selmer is in the early stages of a plan that would see its Eastlake, Ohio manufacturing plant close around June 30. If finalized, the company would move professional French horn production to its brass factory in Elkhart, the largest manufacturer of band instruments in the United States. Conn Selmer operates a portfolio of well-known brass, woodwind, and percussion brands, including Ludwig drums and Bach trumpets. In 1886, five brothers moved their company, the Ball Corporation, from New York to Muncie. The Ball brothers would go on to found what would eventually become Ball State University. Now the story of Frank Ball's great-grandson, Jeff Harper, and his collection of nearly 3,000 ball jars and related memorabilia is being told through a university documentary, which is set to premiere tonight. From the state's #1 source for Indiana business news, you're listening to Inside Indiana Business Radio. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick, coming to you this week from Northwest Indiana, Jeffersonville, Muncie, South Bend, in downtown Evansville, Terre Haute, Fort Wayne, Richmond, from one of the state's key entrepreneurial and innovation hubs, 16 Tech. Inside Indiana Business, Indiana's business news leader. Fort Wayne is expected to draw about $10 million from investors to support community development projects in low-income areas after receiving federal approval under a tax credit incentive program.
A community development entity sponsored by the city will receive $50 million in New Markets tax credits from the U.S. Treasury Department. Under the program, private investors will receive a federal tax credit for their equity investment into the Fort Wayne New Markets Revitalization Fund. The $50 million in tax credit allocation authority is expected to generate about $10 million in cash from investors. Previous projects supported by the fund include the Marshall County Career Innovation Center in Plymouth, the YMCA Community Center in Muncie, and both the Landing Revitalization and the Neighborhood Health Oxford Neighborhood Center in Fort Wayne. The fund's service area includes all of Indiana and Ohio. It is the seventh overall time the Fort Wayne Fund has been awarded a New Market tax credit allocation, bringing the total to $283 million. The New Markets tax credit program was enacted by Congress in 2000 to promote economic growth in low-income communities. A private investor, typically a private financial institution, receives a 39% credit against federal taxes spread out over 7 years. Alex Brown, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Ohio-based The Andersons is planning a major expansion of its ethanol production plant in Cass County. The Ag and Renewable Fuels Company says it will invest $60 million at the facility in the unincorporated community of Climbers. It's expected to increase ethanol production to 30 million gallons by mid-next year. The Methodist Hospital's Foundation in Gary has selected Selena Weatherax to serve as its new executive director. Weatherax most recently served as president and CEO of the Multi-Agency Academic Cooperative Foundation in Valparaiso. That's a nonprofit that develops training opportunities for emergency services personnel. This is Gary Dick for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.